This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Chasen Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Curt Underhill from the Fishing Crew.
So I got to ask you, buddy.
Yeah?
Your reeling motion, are you imitating a bait caster every time?
Yeah, for the most part.
You're reeling on top of
I'm reeling tight. Yeah, I am. Are you feeling okay?
No. Feel like crap. Yeah. Everybody earlier tonight, Brian or Chasen thought I was going to get him sick. He goes, I don't want to get sick. And I'm like, we're on a video call. We can't get sick. It doesn't transmit through the airwaves. The internet's a powerful place. I don't think contracting a cold over the internet is one of those deals.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. Plus, here, look at this. This is the new report from South Dakota Department of Health. Look at the arrow. Look at the date. So cases are down. They're not that big a deal. Yes. Okay. You know what? I exercise. I mean, look, isn't it sad when you have mask savvy? Did you see how quickly I put that thing on? And then
it kind of irritates me a little bit that you still have one.
I don't. It was at the radio station.
Oh.
I went to try to find, because there's a bunch of wacky ones that somebody must have sewed, and I'm like, okay, well, that'd be kind of cool. But I couldn't find those. And then I went into the supply room and there's just a whole bunch of them hanging right here. And I'm like, oh, I thought maybe someone was washing undergarments or something. I'm like, nope, that's just a mask. So here's my question to you. If a Cyclops has one eye, does a Mrs. Cyclops have only one boob?
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry. This is the children. No, this is not a children's show. On YouTube, it says, is it for, they actually ask you, right?
Yeah.
No, not so much. So let me see here. It's kind of a wing it kind of deal again tonight. We were hoping to have some experts on, and maybe there's going to be some people in the audience who will get involved. I'll pop this up real quick. It's been the big news this week, right? It's been all over the news. Dakota News Now's on it. I'm surprised ABC News doesn't give their opinion on the fact that it's out. Whatever. So the senators, Kurt Voigt and Carl Perry, are the ones that brought the bill. You read it. I didn't want to, because I don't even want to have an opinion. I want to hear everybody else's opinions.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I mean, there's, legislation's a tricky thing. I think, last year, for people who watched, when we talked about, 1058 or whatever it was last year that it came in as. I think it was. Yeah. For some reason that sticks in my head. I could be completely wrong. But what people don't understand is how the kind of legislation works. So, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of this was brought very early. First couple, obviously the 16th Senate bill to be brought in. Kevin,
dump for this year. Dump it. Yeah, right. So did you happen to notice that we had like 21 people watching when we started, and the minute I put the mask on, it dropped down to 9?
Yeah.
Like, hello, people, just hang on.
But so they either got to bring a bill from the House or the Senate side. Sometimes bills are brought to legislators, me and you decide we want a bill, we bring it in. Right. We want to, I don't know, make it the third Thursday of every month is Chasen Walter Day. I don't know. Right. Like,
yeah, right. It can be whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you get a sponsor, right?
You talk with them, they send it to what they call the LRC, the Legislative Research Council. And if for anybody that wants to see this stuff, you can just Google South Dakota LRC, and that's where all the bills are. And they keep adding up every week. They keep, every week through session, they have a certain day, which they call crossover day. And every Senate bill has to be done by that day to go to the House, and every House bill has to go to that. So basically, there's a point where no new bills can be introduced. So either organizations or individuals can bring a bill, or a legislator can bring a bill themselves. So pretty much this new one is basically last year, in my opinion, on steroids.
Okay. So I guess you'll have to expand on that for the fact that, I thought it was pretty inclusive last year, with the exception of preserves
were excluded on it. Yep.
And that's on the hunting side.
Yep. Yeah. So there was some stuff, in there last year about hunting preserves that is not detailed out in this yet.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about preserves being excluded. It doesn't say anything like that. So, it's just basically, there's been, if you follow the social media world, you follow everything going on, there's been a ton of posts about it. Both good, bad, indifferent, everything else. A few legislators themselves has posted that they're against it. On their social media.
Deutsch was one.
What's that?
Fred Deutsch was one.
I can't remember. And they kind of gave a good reason behind it, right? The South Dakotan guiding industry has been around for how many years?
Oh, for Pete's sake. Yeah, it's been forever. It's just been the last, we dare say, 5 years that it's really kind of exploded. We've more than we had a dozen guides in the state of South Dakota. Now there's 6 dozen. Yeah.
So Kevin, you're correct. It does include hunting guides. It did last year, but it excluded pheasant preserves. So if you were not a preserve, or you did deer hunts or waterfowl hunts, you weren't excluded. Just excluded preserve hunting. And their reason was, well, they have a license. No, they don't have a license. That's not the same license. If you're calling it a license, yes, they have to apply to be a preserve. They have certain guidelines they have to follow. They have to put out so many birds. They have to put out, pretty much every bird they shoot, they got to put one out, if not more. They've got certain things, but it doesn't say anything about what a guide bill is. So to exclude them last year was just the easy way to get around it. In my opinion, they've jacked this thing all up this year so that we argue over the hunting preserve piece of it. We get that excluded and they get something passed. So this bill can morph throughout the thing. There can be addendums brought to it. There can be another bill brought, so we're not out of the woods until session's over. And frankly, I don't think we're out of the woods until something does happen. I think we're going to keep seeing it year after year after year. That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I see this thing going away, just absolutely gone. But you're right. It'll come back next year with a change, the next year with a change. And we're going to keep chasing our tail. Yeah, every year until somebody spends a fair amount of time to write it the way it should be written, that makes sense to everyone, that gives, I guess, everyone an opportunity to formulate an opinion with some sort of intelligence.
Yeah. But we've been guiding in South Dakota for ever, right? We've been guiding across the United States forever. So why? I know other states have them, right? And it's not necessarily 100% a bad thing, but like a couple of legislators post, we can regulate ourselves. The bad ones will weed the bad ones out, right? The good ones will weed the bad ones out eventually.
Yeah, I would say that generally happens.
There's no stopping somebody from becoming a guide. I think, first and foremost, if you're a reputable company, you should have insurance and you should have a tax ID license and be paying your fair share of sales tax. I would say 95 to 98% of the guides out there are doing those things. So I
would hope most of them, if not all, because I can't just.
I don't know. I'm just guessing, right?
I can't just decide to open a boutique on the corner in an empty building here in Mobridge, right? Without doing stuff. I can't just all of a sudden go, yep, I'll rent the building, open it up one day, and it's, Chasen Walters Boutique for Men, or is it boutique? Is it a boutique or a boutique? Not that it matters, but you have to look at that. Hello from Texas.
There's our pig hunter. Before you go on, Trapper, yes, we are talking about Senate Bill 116 in South Dakota, which is a bill related to guides having to have a license to guide.
Yes. So, which, so take this back to seniors' days. if Bob had to buy a license, would he been guiding?
I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. Like I said, I don't see a problem here. And people are all it's a lot of this stems from Northeast South Dakota and the perch.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of it stems from. So let's make a bill that's a one area problem. I mean, Kevin just came on and said he has, correct, commercial guide insurance costs around $2,000 a year. So
really,
Kevin's been guiding out here quite some time. So he's already spending $2,000 to have commercial guide insurance, and he has a business license. He does that. We actually, in the central part of South Dakota, I would say we're on that verge of having a problem with guides, and the fact that our guides are aging out. A lot of guides are retired from a business, or older in age that do it full time. There's very few young guides getting into the game, and it's because it's so costly,
right?
The boats are $100,000, and then you got to fill it with equipment, and then you got to have a good truck to pull it with, and you got to have all these things.
Minnows are what, $8 to $10 a dozen now, where they used to be $2.
And our prices, I'm going to straight up say it, our prices on guides haven't followed the trend of the world and went up.
Right. Okay. So let's put the numbers to it. Right. So $600 to me seems like it's been an average daily price.
Yeah.
Is that where we're still at then? For the most part,
they're kind of, I'd just say average would be probably good. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you're fishing Lake Oahe and the bite's in the Cheyenne, and they decide to run from Spring Creek, or they drive up to Bushes and put in and run across the Cheyenne. There's a lot of money in gas, right?
Yeah, $4 a gallon because they're running that damn 91 that we don't need. But everybody's carrying it because that's what you got to put in your boat, and those days are gone. Get rid of that crap. Bring up this Senate Bill 17 or whatever. I don't care if it's 1016. Let's get rid of that stupid 91 octane and just go with straight 87 octane unleaded fuel, no ethanol for boats, because that's where we're at today. But anyway,
whole other conversation.
Sorry.
No, I get you. I know it's a hot button for you, Mr. E85.
Well, and I'm not, I don't expect to run E85 in my outboard motor. I don't, but just unleaded 87.
Yep. But so you got a lot of money into a day.
Yeah, right.
Straight up a lot of money into a day before you even hit that water.
Yeah, right.
Many years ago, a kid once told me, he was like, I'll never forget it, because Ranger boats were like $80,000 at the time. And he was going to go buy a Ranger boat. And he's like, I got to guide 4 days a month and I can make my boat payment. And I'm like, okay, but so that's maybe 6 months a year, 5 months a year.
Yeah, right.
So you got to double that to pay for it the rest of the year.
Right.
And you gotta have all your tackle and all your equipment, and God forbid somebody breaks whatever.
Or lose, because here's the deal: the guys going out now, they're not just pulling $2 spinners anymore, because you got guys going out that want a live scope over the trees, and you're losing a $10 to $12 jig and wrap or whatever finisher. They ain't cheap.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can't make them. Maybe the jig and wrap you can, but you're not going to get the same action and whatever, blah, blah.
Yeah, but then you got to have lead pots and molds and hooks, and you're not going to be that cost effective.
Right. Well, yeah, especially now that, and here's the thing, people don't understand all the way to the ground. Okay, now all of a sudden you're going to make your own jigs, right? Or jig and wraps, and you go out and you get dirty lead, right? And you don't realize you got to clean it. You need clean lead. Because all it is a bunch of garbage. So now it costs you more because you're buying clean lead, and you're not going to the tire shop and getting all the big semi-lead weights that I don't think they even use anymore. Yeah. So, it's super complicated.
Yeah. Even making a spinner is not that cheap. You know,
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, if you think about buying I don't know what does a pack of hooks cost nowadays. $5.
well, yeah, I buy the pack of 6, whatever. I'm spending $4 to $7 for a pack of, say, 5 to 8 hooks, depending on, and most of the time are, okay, and Gamakatsu.
Yeah,
because I'm not wasting my time with anything other than that, except for VMCs that the True Tech or the Tech, the one, oh, why can't I think of it? It's on the tip.
the True Turn hooks.
No, it's not True Turn. VMC. Let me VMC something Tech. It's on the Tech set. Yeah,
Kevin,
I
here. So
oh, here we go.
and $500 annual guide license. A lot of guys are going to say hell with it. No one talks about the revenue brought into the state and local communities through sales tax that guides pay and collected by other businesses. 100%. 100% with that. Like, you got a ton of money brought in with revenue, for sales tax. Like I said, Kevin, you're pretty good with numbers. You probably have financially broke down to what it costs you per day to guide before, So, I mean, you're not making that much money. I mean, they're like, these guys, like, they're not very few full-timers. Most of them are retired guys. And yeah, I mean, there are outliers, right? There are outliers that do it full-time. They do nothing else. But a lot of the guides that are here are full-time guides. They guide pheasant hunters in the fall and they do all this other stuff. And, or they own a business, they can get away and do that kind of stuff, or they own a resort and they bed people and they do all the other stuff. So much more to it. So now you're tacking on a $500 guide license for a resident, $1,000 for non-residents. It's just pointless. We don't need the government. We don't need the problem. Now, Game Fish and Parks has got to regulate this. So, they're going to have to hire a new person to regulate this or expand somebody's position, which means cost money. So how many guides are going to pay $500 to get a guide license? And it says in here to go back to, the fishing one goes back to, let me make sure, I'm going to get down to this part so I can read it correctly for everybody. Let me find it here. Non-refundable. So it says the department shall forward any collected fees for licensing as a fishing guide to the state treasury to be posited into the Game Fish and Parks fund and shall use amount to enhance aquatic habitat on public waters. Aquatic habitat is a wide variety of things. It doesn't say stock fish.
Right.
And then the hunting one, which I have a major problem with, and I own 0 acres of ground in South Dakota to hunt on, right? Mm-hmm. The department shall forward all the money to Treasury, part of the Department of Game Fish and Parks' account, and shall use the amount to enhance terrestrial habitat and support public access programs. We have a habitat staff for that reason.
Right.
I don't feel it's right that we take a landowner that's guiding on his own land, because you cannot guide on public land.
Right.
Period. I know that's a big point of contention because you can do it on public waters. Get it. But the hunting one, why am I going to make somebody that's already paying sales, is paying tax on their land and they're paying all this other stuff to do this, fund a program for public access? We have programs in place for that. We have things in place for that. Why do we need something to be in place for that? Why does a landowner that's already, go talk to a farmer right now and ask him how much money he's got laying around after this year? Yeah, right. Crop prices, I heard what this week Milo was $2 and change, per bushel. Your input cost is way more than that. So now you're going to charge them guys another, $500 to guide on their own land to fund habitat and access on some other land.
Well, would you call it lazy writing?
I'm coming from a guy that owns 0 acres of ground to hunt on. I love our
here.
public lands. I love our public lands. I hunt a lot of our public access stuff.
I do too. When I hunt, I don't hunt much, but when I hunt, it's there for me, right?
But the habitat money is in place. The habitat stamp that we passed 4 or 5 years ago, and you can get online and look up the habitat where all that money goes, and you can see where they put money in, and they have a ton of money going into that. Why do we need to add another $500 per guide into that realm?
Because I think it's lazy writing, right? They're just throwing it together just to have it. It just, to me, and it just doesn't seem like there's a ton of real thought. You know, they're inspired, but they're just throwing it together.
Yeah.
Rather than actually studying the situation and coming up with real things. And I hate to say things, but there are so many that I can't single them out, right? So it's things.
But I can't come up with something. And then, you know, Trapper, you're right. Way too general. Like
way too general. Yeah. Right. See things.
It's aquatic habitat. Okay.
Right.
Is that new boat ramps? Is that sinking fishing structure? You know, trees and blocks and shit for fishing structure? Is that redoing a shoreline? Is that, you know, nothing? It doesn't say specifically stock fish.
Right. Oh. How come we don't have the cribs and stuff out here like we used to for catching crappie? Because that was pretty cool. And not now, I mean, they're gone. You had all those tires tied together, right? And they were floating and they just held big crappie. And then they were gone. Yeah.
I mean, we got so many other problems to worry about. And, you know, people bash on our game fishing parks, but, you know, they're doing, you know, they're stocking Lake Oahe. They're stocking this stuff. We need to expand our fisheries. I mean, if you want something, bring a bill that says build another fishery. Allocate funds to build 3 more fisheries and hire the staff to run them. If you want fish in lakes, that's how we do it. It's not a bill to go after somebody that's paying sales tax and paying, you know, supporting the local economy. You want to keep our hunting and fishing at a practical price. This is how we do it. Drive out-of-staters away that can't afford to come in here and you know, because we have to up our guide rates to do this. You drive out-of-staters away because guys quit guiding and they just don't come. They go to Minnesota, they go to Iowa, they go Nebraska, they go wherever else. Then our what $68 annual combination hunting license is going to be $168.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I don't get it. So, Trap,
what do we got here? So, playing the other side, just hypothetical, and Trapper says he's not in support. Does the high cost of guide license help weed out some of the cheap guides that make other guides look bad? Only a thought. Yeah, I think maybe that was part of it in the beginning.
I see that, but here's my thought on that too is, okay, in the world of social media and keyboard warriors, give them a bad review. You know, make their review not that, you know, give them a bad review on social media, on Google, on all the things out there, right? That'll weed them out faster. You know, if their guests have a bad experience, and frankly, if you went somewhere, Chasen, and you had a bad guide experience, are you going to book with that guide again?
No, because I've had a few, and you want. I mean, I'm kind of disgruntled with it. I don't blame them because they're guiding, and I picked that day or that weekend and go, and a cold front comes through that nobody could have predicted 6 weeks ago. And fishing sucks, you know. And then later that afternoon, the afternoon group comes and they just nail it. Well, that's not his fault.
No,
ain't my fault either. But I sure wasted a ton of money.
Yeah,
you know. So I
wouldn't even say that's not even a good example, right?
No, it's not.
Say you showed up and I said we're fishing in a brand new DVX 22S. and I'm going to take you out here and we're going to live scope and we're going to do this shit and we're going to do all these things. I'm going to catch you all these big fish and I'm going to put them all blah, 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 blah. And you show up and I've got a 17-foot Mr. Pike with a 50 tiller and a flasher on it.
Yeah.
And we don't catch fish, or I can't catch walleyes, and all of a sudden I got you catching catfish and smallmouth bass, and you're going to not hire that guide again.
Right. And we're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Fritos.
And no bologna on them.
With a fake Coke. Well, if they were peanut butter and bologna, I might think about hiring them a second time. But
hire them four times over for that situation. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Trapper, I get your comment, and I think that's part of what people are trying to say.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
But I think just reputation, right? I mean, reputation. Everybody knows I was down in Texas a few weeks ago hunting with, Rocky Creek retrievers with, Steve Biggers. That was an amazing experience. I will sing their praises and tell anybody they should go there. Absolutely, everybody should go check that place out. Great experience. We got lucky and shot the piss out of ducks. I mean, we had a great hunt, right? But the guys that didn't shoot all their limits and didn't, because it's like I tell these waterfall guides and fishing guides, even that matter. Like when I go guide at a preserve, I know there's going to be 100 birds that get up that day. I don't know if you're going to hit them.
Right.
But they're going to get up.
Yeah.
Waterfall might not come.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's no for sure in that one.
Right. I know you come down here and pay me to take you pheasant hunting.
Right.
On a preserve, I know for a fact that this many birds are going to get up in front of you. If you don't hit them,
that's on you.
But I'm going to get you shot.
Right. You're going to see the birds. You're going to kick the birds. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to get a chance to shoot.
So, I mean, there's a big difference, right? And so, but, another prime example, I went to Texas 3-4 years ago, crane hunting with Prairie Bomb Outfitters. Had an amazing experience. Absolutely crushed the cranes. Had some buddies go down last year. Never shot a crane.
That's hunting.
They're not happy with them. I would still send people there to this day. So that my group of friends probably won't book with them again. I would. But my group...
Here again, it depends on the experience, right? Okay, yeah. If you can go down and you can whiff, swing and a miss, you get nothing, and all is good, but you don't get anything. Okay, the experience was awesome. I had an experience where I sat and watched the guide catch 13, 14-inch perch, and I'm at the back of the boat catching nothing. Yeah. Just watching him catch them left and right. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I paid you. Why am I not up front doing what you're doing? Because obviously the perch are not back here. They're up there along the weed line, and I'm out here in current going nowhere.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, there again, that's your experience, right? So if the experience is good, if everything is done right and you whiff, chances are you might give it another try.
Yeah. We got a couple comments here. Sorry, I was chuckling about a couple comments.
I figured. Can of worms, LOL. So is the guide's responsibility to get the client the limit of fish, or is it to help steer them in the right way of them finding fish on their own after the guide trip?
Yeah. Now here's what I was chuckling about.
Okay. Wait. You guys use a fishing guide to get it. Well, on Winnipeg. That's funny.
100%. Like, and so the bad guides are going to weed themselves out regardless, right? They're just not going to book trips. They might book a few here and there. We all probably have seen somebody that said they're going to go out and be a guide, and maybe a year, 2 years later, they're not doing it anymore, or right. they're working a full-time job and they're part-time guiding. It's not an easy life. It's not.
No. And I think there were some young people who decided to get in on the game because they heard they could make $600 a day. And then they found out that there's a cost to doing business. It's not all $600 in your pocket. And then the peanut butter sandwiches come out, and the small bag of chips and a bottle of water for the meal.
Yeah.
And so then things turn sour, and you got people a little bit cranky and pissed off. And then I think the other part of this bill too, let's not forget about the fact that there are a lot of people, including me, who feel like a lot of lakes are over harvested and fished out because of, not just simply because of guides, but because of social media.
Till the day I'm dead, that's an ethics problem.
Yeah, right.
We have to have the giant stringer of fish on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. We have to have the pile of perch on Facebook, or the pile of bluegills, or whatever. Because our sense of worth is based off our likes and our comments on Facebook. 100%, but Kevin, I'm gonna get back to your comment, but Bitter Lake and Wabe gets pounded hard every single day. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. Constant. But is every single person that's walking on Bitter Lake and Wabe guides?
No, but there's a lot of them because they're guidable lakes.
Yep.
And they have fish. Well, look at even now, the Bitter kind of seemed to go through a little bit of a thing. And now, they're touting Bitter as being really good right now.
So,
or maybe a week ago.
My question, if people are going back to your comment, you've kind of always said that, the Northeast lakes aren't what they used to be. And, people fished them hard and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
So, would regulating the lakes by a limit be more effective on the fishery, or regulating who can guide on them?
I would have to say a limit. I can't imagine that they're going to.
Every single guide buys this license and still guides.
It's not going to change anything. I mean, it's not going to change how many fish are harvested.
No, we regulate our fisheries by limits. Mm-hmm. So, let's drop our limits. If that's the problem, Game Fish and Parks should look at dropping limits. And we're going to have fishery meetings on here later this year. Mm-hmm. We're going to have some fishery updates, and that's some of the questions we can come in there. And GFP gets a bad rap on stuff, on some things, but after having Mark on last year, I came away with a different look and different take on how our fisheries are managed.
Yeah, me too.
To learn, not just assume.
Yeah, right. And I think I was assuming, for me, it's almost 180 degree after we had Mark on.
Yeah,
Mark and Nick, right? They were both on together, and give them kudos to both, because I went back and used some great audio from Mark in some In Through the Outdoors episodes. And I'm like, people need to hear this again, because we formulate opinions off of common sense, which is fine for regular, average, everyday life. But then there are some situations where a common sense opinion really doesn't hold water, because you got, let's take the perch thing, right? We could regulate the perch a little bit more, but what's the average lifespan of a perch? 5 to 7 years in a decent lake with decent habitat, maybe a little bit more with a perfect habitat, and certainly less. You can take East and West 81, a perfect example where the perch they'll exist for 3 or 4 years. They'll grow big and gone.
Yeah. So I got a couple comments I've been passing over, but I want to get back to them. So Kevin said, only good thing I saw was having a life safety course. I agree with that. Like,
that's a great idea. Yep.
100%. But this should be sponsored by GFMP and not mandatory in the law. It should be voluntary to attend. I think most guides would, and maybe we could get a break on our commercial insurance. I don't disagree. I think it's a great thing. Now, David said, I'm going to go back to this one. Bitter and Wabe get pound hard every single day. Came with absolutely not. It's somehow sustainable as of now. That being said, need to be some guidelines as far as limits and slots. Yeah. I don't agree. And now here, Felby's got a comment here. Byron, north of Huron, got fished hard the last few years, and now it's fished out. Not much left at all. And I would love to know how many guides guided Lake Byron, because I bet it's freaking. If it could be negative, it's negative.
Do you think so? Because here's what I've experienced, and maybe I'm wrong. That once a guide gets wind of a decent bite, now you go from a few portables to a half a dozen snow bears with guide clients in it.
But you're talking,
and they're there every day.
You're talking Webster, South Dakota, the hub of the ice guiding, right? Let's just call it that. Right. You're driving at least 2 hours to get to Lake Byron from there.
I am, yeah, right.
From Webster,
really from anywhere, right?
It's
right,
not
from Brookings, from Mobridge, from.
It's not a big lake, and I've seen it be amazing fishing, all the way down to absolutely nothing.
But that's typical. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
It's typical of lakes, right? Because Pelican has been on fire for the most part. Clear Lake, one of the Clear Lakes, has been on fire. But now that these lakes were hot 5, 6, 7 years ago. You got Opitz that was just on fire for big fat perch, and then all of a sudden you couldn't catch a damn thing. But here's the other thing too. Then you get a lake like Brush in eastern South Dakota, Goldsmith, which is a teeny tiny little thing. Those shallow basin lakes, they will winter kill, and then 2 years later, someone will be out there fishing and they'll catch a 19-inch walleye and a 28-inch walleye. Well, I thought they were dead. They don't all die. It's just like the perch in Marsh over there by Haytie. I'm guessing if somebody's out there ice fishing here, the locals are out there ice fishing it. If there's ice on it, they're catching some perch. Yeah. I don't know. That's the one thing that we need to understand, and maybe the GF&P can help. And that's why we're going to have them on. Maybe they can help us understand the biology of the lake, so that we know that Marsh is a great example. So I don't know if anybody out there got to fish Marsh in the eastern part of South Dakota and caught the 12 to 16 inch perch, and there were thousands of people out there. Yeah,
I didn't catch those.
You didn't, see, you came too late then, right? Yeah. And I screwed up. I found out about it that fall before ice. I went there with my boat a couple of weekends, and the wind was so bad. I'm like, nah, I'm going to wait till we get ice. Okay, David. So Dave, you experienced this. All right. We've got all these people fishing these big perch, and just, raping the lake. I'm talking, they're taking perch out of that lake left and right. And to the point where it's like, great, we have an opportunity to fish this thing for a few years. But then what happens? Mother Nature comes along, winter kills it so bad that the lake reeks for weeks. Matter of fact, I think it probably still smells, right? So if we wouldn't have caught those fish, we'd have never seen them. We'd never had the pictures. I kept a few because my buddy wanted to keep some. So we did keep some. We didn't keep 30 of them, I think a dozen at the most, and he took them home because his family actually eats fish all the time, and that's okay, right? So I'm starting to learn, and the same with Lake Oahe. We're catching a ton of big fish, but they would have aged out and we would have missed out on them anyway. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. And that was the thing, that the minnows were coming up, whatever minnows were there were coming up through the hole. And we knew that, Oakwood was the same way. It was a bad deal, but
at the end of the day, like I said, I would love to hear other people that are for this bill explain to me why.
Yes.
Without leave it off the table because I will argue till I'm blue in the face that it's not going to stock lakes. So give me a reason why, other than stocking of lakes.
I was naive with my original position of it's going to weed out the weak and bad, and that's where I stood, right? Firm. Let's get these, and after listening and paying attention and learning and keeping an open mind, now honestly I don't know what good it does at all. And frankly, if they don't ever bring it back up again, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Yeah, I would say, I was last year. I said I was for a bill for a long time, but it would have to, in my opinion, in order for something to work right, it's got to work both ways. It's got to help the guys, and it can't, and it's got to, it's got to do both, right? You can't just write a bill that demolishes an industry,
right?
Right? I mean, 100%. You can't write So let's. If you want to sit down and have a conversation with some healthy people and some guides and actually listen and take their input in, and, guys that have been doing it 50 years and guys that are new to it and all the different things, that's how you get a bill done, not this.
No. Yeah, no, this is, and I don't want to call it hokey because that's kind of being negative and mean. And I don't mean it that way. And earlier I said it's kind of lazy the way it's written, but I don't know if that's the right word either. I'm just not convinced anymore that there is a necessity. Yeah, I really don't. And like you said,
let's go back to your theory of it weed out the bad ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just. I'm not going to throw fingers at anybody because I don't know anybody, but okay, the high school or college kid in Brookings, dad buys a snow bear and he's like, I'm going to use a snow bear on my weekends and guide, and has no business guiding, right? Just goes fishing with his dad, but he has a snow bear, so he's going to guide. Do you think that kid's going to care about a $500 license fee?
No, maybe we'd be better served to change the name of guide, right?
But okay,
to me, now, up until, I don't know, 10 years ago, I mean, I really never paid attention to the fact that there were all these fishing guides. Because like local fishing guides, right? Like guides on Ponset, et cetera, et cetera. The guide thing to me was you get a guide because you're going up to Flin Flon or the Paws, or you're going up to Winnipeg. You're going somewhere in Canada fishing where you've never been before, and you're going to pay an expert, somebody who knows and lives on the lake, to take you fishing and get you on fish. Now, nobody 35 or 40 years ago, when my dad and all his buddies would hire a guide and then go up and do the thing, I never heard those guys talk about, when they came home, they always had fish for one, but I never heard them complain about, well, we didn't catch any fish, we're never going to hire them again. And so, the guide thing to me means that you are specific to an area. Now all of a sudden you got guides from wherever in Sioux Falls that are all of a sudden guiding up on Bitter. Well, they never fished Bitter before, but I'm a guide on Bitter. I'll take you out for $600. It's those kind of things that make me go,
But this bill ain't going to stop that. It ain't going to.
No, you're right. That's why I'm saying that.
Anything like that, it's not going to change any of that. And David came in. I think if something passed could filter out crappy guys, increase clientele for the good ones. I think that, like I said, going back, I think the crappy guides will eventually filter themselves out. And the ones that, and I'm sorry, but if you have a crappy experience, let's say Chasen Walters Guide Service. Sorry, Chasen, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Chasen Walters Guide Service.
Yeah, I'm going to be broke soon. Yeah.
Do all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And you have a crappy experience. He treats you like crap. The equipment sucks. He lied to you on what he was going to do. He put you up in the freaking cockroach inn. maybe threw you in a tent in the campground because he doesn't really have lodging for you, whatever the scenario is. If you book with him again,
you're stupid.
You're stupid.
Right. See,
so, and granted, okay, oh, well, these guys are going to keep going. They're just going to lower their price. Well, then they're going to work themselves right out of business. I mean, I just don't think it's going to eliminate any guides. A $500 bill isn't going to eliminate any guides. There is stuff in there that says if you've had any violations,
like parking tickets violations, right? I mean, pretty specific, nitpicky.
Okay, so there's a couple different things here. Let's see here. There's a lot of stuff in here, and you can read it. But if during the 5-year period preceding the date of application, if license guide applicant or license violates any statute or rules relating to fishing or hunting or guiding in any justification. So you get a forget to pull your boat plug.
Right. Now right. Yeah, see that to me it's pretty nitpicky.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously a lot of this could be stripped out, but I just don't see that, So a guy in his 20s got 3 DUIs and he's got a felony because it says if you're a felon, you can't guide. 40 years later, 20 years later, he's 40 years old. He doesn't drink. He's been a recovering alcoholic for 20 years. He's turned his life around. Now he can't get a guide license because he had 3 DUIs when he was 20 years old.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess and like I told you, I'm not even going to read the thing because I don't want to know enough to really formulate an opinion because I want to hear what everybody else has to say about it. Or I simply just want it to go away and never come back again. Because I just don't think they're ever going to write it right, and it's never going to be right.
And that goes to my next thought is personally, I think with that statement right there, then why are we doing this? If you can't write it right or do it right, we're never going to do that.
So would it be so wrong to offer the opportunity to register as a guide with the state of South Dakota? So now it's a certification.
Kind of right here what Kevin says. If you're guiding a lot without a sales tax license, most regulated guides will report to the Department of Revenue.
And that would be fair. That would be right because we all got to pay our fair share.
Yeah.
Jerry. Yeah, so that's where I'm starting as I listen and as I read the comments, I'm starting to think we're better off giving guides the opportunity to certify as a South Dakota State certified guide that actually and have it mean something. And then your lesser guides, your weak guides, your bad guides, however you want to describe them, are just going to end up, well, I'm not hiring them because these other 4 guys or these other 10 guys are South Dakota State registered guides. And why would I mess around with this dude? So,
say lesser words. That's what you're doing with this, supposedly doing with this bill, right? Lesser words, right? I mean, that's kind of what this bill is doing. If that's the case, I just don't think, unless, like Alaska, one of the hardest ones, you got to get sponsored to become a guide. You've got to have an internship program. You got to do all these things to be an Alaskan guide. We're never going to get,
not here.
Who are you going to get? Who's going to be the mentors and who's going to, how are you going to give up and not make any money being a mentee?
Right.
Yeah. I'm now an old fart.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hit all of 41.
Yeah. 41. I'm an old fart this week.
Yeah, you're an old fart. I'm going to be 60 in March. Feel that.
Yeah, Dustin, I think over time they'll weed themselves out, and they have.
I agree, Justin.
You see him come and go, and you see him come and go. I just think, I don't know. I mean, it's like I brought up the statement. If you got a felony, when you're 20, statute of limitations, whatever, you got, you went to prison because you had 3 DUIs at 19 to 20 years old. Then you clean yourself up and you're doing good things for yourself and you're guiding at 40. Or, you're not a bad person, but you're excluded from this. But at the same time, some guy gets a felony charge for whatever, in the last 5 years. Like, where do you draw the line to say, oh, that guy's good, but that guy's not? Like, there's just no way to draw the line. It's just one of those situations is until, I don't know. I just can't find a bad scenario. I can't find a good scenario for this thing. I mean, I think regulating somebody over regulating people is BS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Really, it's a tomato situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how you look at it. It's how you say it. And still the same thing. I don't know. It's interesting how last year I was so pumped, like, whoa, I can't wait to get into this thing and learn it. And, and then I'm like, well, I'm not that smart. So yeah, right. Yeah. There you go. That would help. And this is where they need to spend time writing it properly.
I mean, okay, just write something that says it doesn't cost anything and you can apply you can show your credentials to the state of South Dakota and have a registered, a blue check mark like Facebook used to do. You're verified. Now,
there you go. Yeah. There's some
pay for that.
Some sort of verification or certification, just for guys, for regular average people who want to hire a guy, but they don't know who to hire.
I'm terribly guilty of this, right? I'm terribly guilty of not doing this. Like I said, write a review. And be honest. If you had a bad experience, don't bash the guy. Just say, hey, not the best experience, blah, blah, blah. And a bad experience, I'm not saying, well, we went out and the wind was blowing 40. So he said, well, we got to fish over here and we can't go out to the main lake. It's not the guide's fault.
Nope.
A giant cold front slid in. That's not the guide's fault. You had I know the exact trip you're talking about. You had a great experience with him as a person, seeing new water, all these things. Did you catch fish? No. But you still like the guy.
Right. Yeah. The no fishing thing sucked, but I have, and that's with any trip. I don't care if you're going to take a trip to Winnipeg or you're going to take a trip, if I'm going to go back to Fish Bitter next weekend or whatever, I'm not going thinking that I'm going to limit out and go crazy. I'm going to go and enjoy my buddy Chad. I'm going to go up and enjoy my buddy Kirk, and we're going to have fun and we're going to make memories. We're going to do the deal. And then if we catch fish, it's a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I mean, and that's just it. Give guys honest reviews, give them good reviews. And if you can't hold yourself back from just bashing somebody, don't even give them a review and just review the good guys. Give good reviews.
Yeah. I know my first, when I first started doing this In Through the Outdoors thing, which by the way, I think next week may be my last week. I don't know. I haven't been out fishing. I can't come up with, I got nothing. But anyway, I digress. So I decided, because you're supposed to have you'll have to pop that up because I didn't see it, but
I was looking at fish story. I didn't mean to hit the button.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Let me do it quick. So they, when I went to Aglow the first time, well, you got to have a newsletter, you got to have this, that, and the other thing. So I created a newsletter for my In Through the Outdoors, and at the bottom, or 2/3 of the way down, I had hyperlinks for trusted guides. So I had guides in North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota that I knew personally, that I knew I could trust, telling people to use these guys, and so maybe more of us need to do that as well. You've got a new website, you have a million people that come and look at your website, and not that that's going to help with this whole bill thing, but we gotta come up with something better. The bill's not working.
Okay, let me, with that statement right there, out of 100 people that come and get guided in South Dakota, I'd really like to know how many have a bad experience.
I don't know. It would be interesting to know. I know a friend of mine had a bad experience with a pretty decent guide, but I think the guide got lazy, didn't want to fish, and pawned him off on another guy. And so the whole situation changed, and he was pretty upset about it. But other than that.
So we got a couple comments here. So Jade, that's the problem. Everybody elaborates the bad experience and really talks about the great experiences. 100%.
Yep, I agree.
Most guys do a fantastic job in Eastern South Dakota. That being said, it needs to be regulated. No question. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why? I'm going to ask you why, John. Tell me what, other than stocking lakes, because that's not going to happen. Why does it need to be regulated?
Yeah, I'd love to hear his answer. But still, Phil, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Kirk, yeah, you're absolutely, and that's my thing. It's like, what is it really trying to solve? What is it really trying to do?
Yep. And like
I don't know.
I would honestly like to know why they need to be regulated. I mean, if like I said, if Curt Underhill's guide service does a terrible job and treat you like crap, turn them into the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, I just want to know. I want to hear from people.
Yeah.
I want to hear what people think.
This one. I gotta.
Okay. So I forget that, we got to, this is also a podcast. So all of us sitting here reading it, I know it's not a luxury for everyone, but in the past, I knew the owner of a few guide services, and some of their contracted guys weren't doing a good job. I'd contact the owner and would straighten them out. So yeah, you know what? And here's the next thing I guess that's on the owner of the. No. Oh, wait a minute. Bring that back, Ben. Oh, okay. So Ben, you're saying that the bill is.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Like I said, I just don't get the regulated. I mean. I don't get it. I just don't. I don't get it.
So here's
people compare it to hair salons. Oh, you can't be a barber without having a license. I'm not cutting on anybody's head.
Right. No. So before we started, and in an hour, I guess. I didn't think we're going to make it this long. I thought you were going to be full of coughing and sneezing, and we wouldn't make 20 minutes. I'm glad we made an hour.
Over here, but.
Well, we got a lot of great input, right? We got a lot of great comments, and I hope we get more in the next few weeks, depending on whether this thing gets tabled or out. But at this point, I'm like, you know what? There's absolutely no point in wasting time talking about it, because I think it's gone. It isn't going to go anywhere. And if it does, I'm going to be really surprised. But it's just it's a non-factor now for me. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
I don't. And I'm debating on saying this next statement, but I will. Because I don't usually hold much back. So I want to be the guy that speaks my mind and has an open mind to listen.
Well, but we need to have an open mind to hear it as well.
Another question is, would we be sitting here talking if Northeast South Dakota wasn't covered in snow bears right now? Would we be having this conversation?
Maybe. Maybe. And that's because I think the people you're talking about who helped bring this about feel strongly about overharvest.
Overharvest, they're catching their limit. They're catching their limit. And if they're overharvesting their limit, they should be ticketed.
Well, so here's
place for overbagging.
Here's the deal. Overharvest. Getting a limit for clients today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. Nobody puts fish back. You can catch your limit for 2 years, but all of a sudden there's no fish left because you caught your limit for 2 years, and they just kept fishing the lake.
So let me ask this. So you retire. Say you retired. And you're a bad example because you don't hardly keep fish. Right. But let's say you retire and your buddy Chad right there just retires.
Yep.
And you guys are going to fish every possible day you can. And you take a buddy or two buddies or what. So a guide shouldn't be able to go out every day, but you can?
I used to think, I'm not saying that anymore. I'm just saying, I agree. I would say yes. If there weren't snow bears all over a particular lake, I've seen it. I've seen it a few times where guides from other lakes that say we guide these 3 lakes, and this is where they're at. Well, now they're not catching fish there, so now they're up in northeast South Dakota, bringing their clients and fishing up there. So now, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so we got more there. So that was pissing me off because, but now I'm like,
so let me ask this. Let me ask this question. So Colorado, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they have lakes that only let certain number of boats on.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
me and you drive from Pier and Mobridge to Wabae. And the ticker's full and we can't get on.
We should have checked ahead.
But at the same time, it's a public resource.
True.
So why?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's just Ben's got a great point. Like they guide, Ben guides all the time. Let overs go. Just let the overs go. If you want to be the ethical guide and just say, okay, the limit on perch is, I don't even remember anymore. Is it 10?
15, I think.
Okay, say it's 15. We're going to only catch 10 per person.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's more than you need.
Yep. You don't need 15. And the limit doesn't need to be 15 unless biology says on that particular lake or every lake in South Dakota or even North Dakota, it's 15. Here's a great example. Where the hell are all the perch in Devil's Lake? Let me ask you that, because I'm starting to see, I had a little ditty on it on my In Through the Outdoors 2 months ago. Okay, or maybe it was 6 weeks ago. So, I'm not dredging up anything beyond the fact that since I was a kid, Devil's Lake was a 2-pound perch factory. It does not have that going for it at the time. Yes, the biologists have said you'll still be able to catch your occasional 2-pound perch there, right? So, you know what I'm saying?
I think there's so many factors into everything, right?
Yeah.
So Devil's Lake is an ever-evolving beast, right?
It's a beast.
It's a beast. It's got high water years. It's got low water years. It's got this. It's got that. It's got this. And we saw a trend for how many years where that thing just kept swallowing ground.
Mm-hmm. And I know where you're going, right? Because of the way perch reproduce.
Yes.
Devil's Lake's been low.
We've been to Devil's quite a few times, being ice fishing, open water fishing, bunch of different stuff. It's the fishing is still great.
It will always be great.
Dustin said it. Is it that, or lakes just go through cycles? Lakes go through cycles. You know, Devil's Lake is going to stock perch for the first time. They're going to stock perch. Their perch numbers are low. They know they need to stock them, but you still go up there and catch perch. And I guarantee you can't fish Devil's Lake out.
No, but you know what you can do? You can pressure the same area year after year until the perch finally go, we're not going there, we're going over here. So until people start fishing the other parts of the lake, we're never really going to know, because Game and Fish up there can do all of the net surveys. They can do everything they want, but they're not going to count all the fish because. No.
My favorite thing is they tell you how many fish are in Lake Erie. How the hell do they know?
I know.
There's 32 million walleye in Lake Erie. Really? Do they go through a ticker?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a vanity number, I'm guessing, but I think.
Chad says things have changed with live scope. Pressure summer, pressure winter. I agree, and I have a different opinion on both things there. I mean, you still have to catch the fish. Mm-hmm. I think it hurts, panfish more than it hurts a walleye per se.
Yes, I agree.
If it's a small enough slough, 100%. Sure. 100% you can.
That's been done in eastern South Dakota like crazy.
I got another one here for you. This is you, buddy.
Okay. Oh my. I think most people think when hiring a guide that you're going to catch a limit of fish and anything less is a failed trip. Boom. This is not my expectation and haven't been on a guide trip, but there's always going to be guys that judge a guided trip based off of what you catch and not what you learn. Very well said. If guys have a mindset of what can I learn and apply it to my next non-guided trip and have a different mindset going into the trip, it will be much more enjoyable without the expectation of limiting. Boom. Very well said.
Very well said.
Very well said. And that needs to be a mindset that catches on, because guiding isn't a for sure thing.
100%. And back to the can you fish a slough out? Yeah, I think you can. 100%. I'm not saying you can't fish a lake out, but it's not. It's what slough is just fished out by guides.
It's hard. Sloughs are outfished by social media or word of mouth. No, I take that back. By word of mouth, because not everybody's on Facebook, and you've got you got your buddy with a flip phone, and you can. So here's a perfect example. We were on a slough called No Name, catching 12 to 14-inch perch like there's no tomorrow. And we stumble on it because some guy decided to go set up on it. And he called and said, hey, you guys have to come over here now. This is crazy. Right. So then the next day you go back up there and now you've got cars from Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Montana. Like, what the hell? And maybe not that far out, but certainly Minnesota and Nebraska, North Dakota, maybe some Iowa. But then by the next weekend, when you go back over there on a Thursday or a Friday, and now you've got 9 states of cars driving all over that ice catching fish. And then all of a sudden, a month later, like, where'd all the fish go? Yeah. So anyway, and it's always going to be a problem because, okay, what do we got here from Trapper? Live scope on panfish. Once you're good with it, you can sort without having to catch the smaller ones. Yeah, that's true. Really, I mean, and it's the same with walleye, right? The thing that we learn from live scope, from live sonar, if you really take the time. And I've said it before, and you can differentiate walleye from the little ones to the eaters to the big ones. And it does not take a ton. It doesn't take a ton of intelligence to do it, but you got to pay attention and you got to know, and you have to be fishing. You got to catch 12 inchers to know. You got to catch 15s to know, and you got to catch 25s to know. Right. Yeah. And you can tell, I can tell it without even just the way they come in, react, and go. I'm like, yeah, okay, they're little ones. Let's get out of here and move. Yeah, the social media stuff. I mean, that's there's a meme about Plum Lake. You go see the staters there. Yeah, it's amazing how the staters can.
Another question, then we're probably gonna have to run here because we're at an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, and we're a good audience. We should keep going, but we will follow this back up if any more details rise on this thing. But it's a very good question.
Okay,
then I want your opinion first.
Oh my, do the hosts think an outfitter should be able to operate that business if they have previous game violations in which their license was revoked? Oh boy. Man,
I think you have a very good point there, Cody. I think very, very good point. Then write a bill that says if you have, a violation and you're caught taking, okay. So that's a slippery slope, and I agree with you. I don't disagree that should be something that should be sat down and talked about.
Yeah.
But having a boat plug violation or misrepresenting where you're going to guide the people or your price of your guide service or everything else that's in the bill, I don't agree with. Now, well, I kind of follow your deal, but so I think, hypothetically, okay, so I have a game violation. I can't hunt or fish, but I take my kids out doing it. Should I be able to do that?
I don't know. I think the more we look at this bill, the more that we talk about it, the more I think what they're really attempting to do is to reduce the total number of guides immensely with the bill.
They should just write a bill. Honestly, let's call a spade and put the snow bear bill out there.
There you go. I guess I can't disagree with that because now we're pointing the finger at a situation rather than this thing is. I mean, we're just doing this, right? We're pointing all over. What you that. Well, how do we get to the bottom of that?
Yeah,
I think it's hard to do. I think it's really hard to do.
Well, you go to the hunting side of things and you say, well, pheasant hunting, blah, 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 blah. There wouldn't be a bird in South Dakota if it wasn't for lodges releasing pheasants. And they don't all make it, but there's no way that we've had some very nasty winters over the year that there'd be no birds left.
Yep.
There's certain areas that I guide by for pheasant hunting that I can guarantee you the public down the road, the only reason they have birds is because we release them on the property we hunt on. I can promise you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
It looks like a freeway walking through that public access for people walking through there, but we refill that thing weekly.
Yep.
So, Cody, that's a very great question. I see where you're going with it. That'd be the only grounds I would stand for. Is if you've had a violation, but
another one.
Oh, here we got another one from Cody. I believe there's more bills coming that aim licensed snow bears and focus on fishing guides. So now you're segregating part of the, I get it because people are going to say, well, they're on a public resource and this and that and da da da. I don't guide fishing. I do guide some pheasant hunting. I don't guide fishing. I don't run an operation for myself to guide pheasant hunting. I just guide for friends and people who need it. But the fishing one, I see where people are coming from. But if everybody's number one focus is restocking lakes, then write a bill to build fisheries. Write a bill to mandate that
Mm-hmm.
we stock X amount of fish a year statewide, and it's got to rotate or whatever it is. If you have a problem with the perch stuff up there, take a page out of the Walleye Coalition's book and start a coalition.
Yeah, why not? Because the whole thing seems it's an umbrella bill without a handle.
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm like, okay, that's it. It's an umbrella bill with a whole bunch of stuff, but no handle.
Yep. So
okay. Well, I can't believe we went an hour and 15 because I thought we'd maybe make it 15 or 20. But I'm glad. Here's the reason that we kept going wasn't because of you and I, right?
Comments and the viewers, man.
And that's exactly what we were looking for. That's what I was hoping to have tonight to get some intelligent comments, questions, and conversation.
Great comments on both sides.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing. Are the guys replacing the fish they're taking like your pheasant revenue? No, nobody's replacing fish when they take them out.
They're not, but there's not in place to do it.
Right.
If our fisheries cannot produce any more fish, how can we stock more?
Yep.
I mean, Harley, great question. I get what you're saying, and I see it. I see it. I think there needs to be better. I think we need to regulate better on limits. Mm-hmm. The one size fits all mentality, I don't think works. Now, I get why we do it because you can't have, this lake is this regulation, this lake is this regulation, this lake is this regulation, blah, 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 blah. It'd be too confusing for everybody out there and nobody would ever be able to follow the guidelines.
But you know what happened there, right? Okay, we're still using, just like Minnesota, the 6-fish limit in Minnesota. What, 1956? Right. Okay. So think about what happened in the 80s, or what? No, it was the 90s. Hell, it was the 93 when all of the potholes got flooded, and now all of a sudden we've got all these sloughs and all these smaller lakes, and now we're stocking the crap out of them because we've got a place to stock fish, but we didn't grow with the limit situation and the regulation on this certain size lake, this certain size, whatever. And here we go. Another can of worms. I can't go there. But anyway, we just haven't kept up. It's like some counties in South Dakota that didn't keep up with property tax. And now you've got farmers and acreage owners are getting their asses taxed off because they didn't keep up, and boom. And here's the problem. So anyway, you know what?
One last comment.
One more. So before they make all these rules and laws, how about a study on the impact boom? It's a huge social issue. I think stocking is a solution rather. Sorry. Chad, you're right. There we go. Again, super intelligent stuff tonight. Holy crap, from everybody. I don't think there was one comment or one, I don't think there was one thing that, made me go, Yeah, it was all very good. It was fantastic, and that was the purpose of. Well, that's the purpose of Between Hook Sets.
Yep, 100%.
And it's awesome.
Well, we appreciate everybody, guys, hanging on and commenting and liking and sharing and all the stuff you guys do each and every week. And sometimes we wing it, and they're our best ones. And I think this was definitely one of them. So.
No doubt. Stay healthy. Let me pop this up quick because it's a coming next weekend, and maybe we'll see you in Mobridge, whether there's ice or not.
Let's talk about that for a hot second. What is the ice conditions up there like? That was brought up to me last night.
You know what? The ice was really good a few days ago. Really, I mean, for the most part. No, really, I was very surprised at how quickly it locked up here in the Mobridge area, and now because of I don't know. Here's the thing. I hate to say anything for the simple fact that these guys put on a fantastic tournament. I've wanted to be here for one. I get to be here this year. I'm bummed out that we may not have perfect ice conditions. Ice conditions probably will not be perfect, but it's happened before. I think last year was another warm year where this year's almost mirrored from last year. So, the show goes on. They've got going to have a ton of anglers here. Going to have 1,100, almost 1,200 anglers in town. 576 teams, I think, $250,000 in cash and prizes. So, the party's happening. I mean, the thing's going, but I honestly don't know what to say about fishing, because the last Jesse Conold had released a report on ice, and I wonder if I have it, because if I have the screenshot, I could read it, but it's a few days old. So this comes from January 5th. Today's the 7th. It's not that old. They said that they're hearing Indian Creek North, the main lake, had 7 to 9 inches in some places, in the Grand and Oak Creek 9 to 12 inches. Starting to see some permanent shacks in those areas. Haven't heard a report north around the Pollock area. No real report to speak of on the ice. Definitely bring cleats. Yes, because there is going to be no snow on the ice. But I've noticed that things were, starting to, I don't want to use the word deteriorate, but we've had warm weather.
I would just caution everybody, and maybe we can do something on the ice about the Mobridge ice thing next weekend or next week. But be safe.
Yeah, right.
Be safe. Ice changes drastically.
Like crazy. Stay away from the bridges this year, man.
Yeah, just be safe out there. Use a spud bar, have your ice picks, do all the safety stuff.
Be prepared
on the ice, guys, because we want you guys to see each and every week. So,
no doubt. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Yeah. Thank you much. All right. Thank you.